Plate tectonics. Plate tectonics is a theory describing how the surface of the Earth is separated into giant plates, and how these plates move around the planet due to soft rocks within the asthenosphere moving in convection currents. The plate tectonics theory is new. The general scientific community didn't accept it until the 1960s. The theory of plate tectonics explains Alfred Wegener's earlier theory of continental drift. In 1912, Wegener argued that the continents on Earth were moving. At one time, far in the past, they had formed one supercontinent he named Pangaea, meaning all Earth. Wegener had plenty of proof to support his theory. First, the continents looked like they fit together like puzzle pieces. For example, the coast of South America could nestle into the side of Africa. Second, animals, both living and fossils, were the same across multiple continents. Ancient horses couldn't have swum across the ocean, so how did they end up in both North America and Europe? Finally, rock formations appeared as if they could stretch across continents. For example, an ancient mountain range called the Caledonides appeared to stretch from northwest Europe through North America, where it can still be seen as the Appalachians. While Wegener was confident the continents were moving, he couldn't explain how they moved. It would take another 50 years for plate tectonics to describe how the movement of soft rock in the asthenosphere pushed the plates of the lithosphere around the Earth. The lithosphere is Earth's outermost layer. The crust and top of the mantle combine to form the lithosphere. While the crust is between 8 and 30 kilometers thick, the lithosphere is about 100 kilometers thick. The lithosphere is broken apart into giant tectonic plates. Scientists identified 12 major plates, including the North American plate, the Pacific plate, the African plate, and the Australian plate. Plates are named after geographical features, such as the Pacific Ocean or the North American continent. Plate tectonics explains that these plates move around the Earth because of convection currents in the asthenosphere. The asthenosphere is the layer in the mantle below the lithosphere. While the asthenosphere is solid, its soft rocks flow slowly like glass. They move about as fast as your fingernails grow. Rock at the bottom of the asthenosphere is heated by the lower part of the mantle called the mesosphere. The heated rock expands and rises. As the rock moves away from the core, it cools and contracts. Cool rock is denser than hot rock, so it falls back to the bottom of the asthenosphere. The rising and falling rocks create circular convection currents that slowly push the tectonic plates of the lithosphere around the Earth. Even the top of the asthenosphere is much hotter than the crust, and heat from the asthenosphere can melt the rocks of the crust. Melted rock at the bottom of the crust makes its way to the surface through volcanoes and the mid-ocean ridge. The mid-ocean ridge is the longest mountain range on Earth, at over 60,000 kilometers long, but most of it is under the ocean. At the mid-ocean ridge, magma cools and pushes the tectonic plates on either side of it apart, creating a new seafloor. The mid-ocean ridge is an example of a divergent plate boundary, where two tectonic plates push away from each other. As one end of the tectonic plate is pushed, the other end collides with another plate at a convergent plate boundary, where two tectonic plates meet. What happens at a convergent plate boundary depends on the density of the tectonic plates involved. Oceanic plates are mainly made up of basalt, so they are denser than the continental plates, which are primarily granite. If a continental plate and an oceanic plate meet at a convergent boundary, the dense oceanic plate will be subducted or forced under the continental plate. If two oceanic plates meet, the denser plate will be subducted under the less dense plate. Scientists call the places where one plate is forced under another plate a subduction zone. As a plate is subducted, the heat from the mantle melts the rock and turns it into magma. The magma collects in magma chambers that form volcanoes above them. The Ring of Fire is a chain of volcanoes that have formed at the subduction zones around the Pacific Plate. The Andes Mountains are another chain of volcanoes formed as the Pacific Plate subducts under the South American Plate. If two continental plates meet, neither plate is dense enough to subduct under the other, so they push against each other and form mountains. Around 55 million years ago, the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates formed the Himalayan mountains. The two plates continue to move towards each other, so the Himalayas are getting a few centimeters taller every year. Because oceanic plates are continually being recycled at subduction zones in the mid-ocean ridge, Oceanic crust is much younger than continental crust. The oldest oceanic crust found is only about 200 million years old. On the other hand, some rocks from the continental crust are nearly 4 billion years old. The last type of plate boundary is called a transform boundary. It occurs when two tectonic plates slide past each other. For example, the North American and Pacific plates sliding past each other created the San Andreas Fault in California. Today, geologists know that Earth's plates are moving because they can see it using GPS. They use what they know about the plate's current movement to make predictions about how the plates moved in the past. Not only do they confirm the existence of Wegener's Pangaea, but they also believe there have been at least 3 supercontinents in Earth's history. Supercontinents appear to form and break apart over a 400 million year cycle. Geologists predict that Earth's next supercontinent will develop over the North Pole in about 250 million years.